So let's talk about this, because there was this really big story that played out this past week, which was the death of Jordan Neely. And it was such a talker, this homeless man put in a fatal chokehold by a 24-year-old former Marine on the subway. And it's become very politically charged from groups demanding the DA file charges for murder. So, Ayana, let me begin with you, because the mayor not taking a stand saying, let the process play out. Some people saying that's not the right move.
This could be a critical moment for Mayor Eric Adams. We are hearing multiple advocates now calling the mayor out directly, saying he needs to take a stand. The mayor has certainly been reserved, and so it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. But we are seeing direct pressure being placed on the mayor, and the mayor is not caving into that pressure at this point.
Yeah, but it almost seems like maybe the governor caved in a little bit. She made some comments when this first broke about consequences, later on clarifying the confusion of who exactly she was talking about in that moment of who should face consequences.
And Dan, I will say, I was in the room when the governor made those initial comments, and it was clear at that point that she hadn't been fully read in on the situation, and she did ask for some time to get further read in. So it seems like perhaps the governor should have maybe asked for taking a pass on that question at that time, because it did appear that she wasn't completely read in.
Right. And still another moderate Democrat who made those initial comments. There was swift backlash online, particularly on social media, on Twitter and Facebook. And the next day, she was at an unrelated event with union members, hotel union members. She found a bank of cameras. She made a stronger statement. So that's an example of a moderate Democrat who's normally more simpatico with the mayor, not moderating response, calling it horrific, saying there needs to be consequences for the choker in this case.
Right, and then there's those like Brad Lander, the city controller, AOC, Congressman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who said vigilantism should not be tolerated, coming out very harsh, saying that this man should be arrested.
Yeah, I mean, Dan, I am hearing from our viewers that this is an issue that they are following closely, that this truly matters to them, and so they are looking to their elected officials to see what they're saying. And I think that certainly leaders like AOC are trying to be responsive to what they're hearing. But this is something that has been really divisive. This has really stirred up a lot of emotion for people, and I think this is a story that we're going to be covering for quite some time.
It's so tangible. We've all seen someone going through emotional distress on the subway yelling, "We don't know what to do." This is an extreme reaction to that, well, however you view it. But it's just something everyone can relate to and is horrified by.
Yeah, and that's why, once again, we're here talking about mental health in the forefront. And that's why we turn to the budget right now, because all eyes, once again, saying more money needs to be poured into mental health, specifically in the subways, right? So the city council member, we had Chiose on earlier, talking about the need for more funding for things like mental health. But at the same time, the mayor says he wants cuts.
Yeah, I think we need to get some clarity in New York City in terms of how will New York respond to people who are in mental health crisis. And so, you know, we saw last year the mayor came out with his plan for involuntary removals, but we haven't seen the results of that. So we really need some clarity. How does the city respond to and care for people who may be in emotional crisis? We've seen, you know, proposals from everyone from the mayor to the city council to the public advocate. And so ultimately, what is the clear answer on how the city will deal with these people who need help? That's really what we need, is clarity.
We know very little about the back-end services that these individuals are receiving. We're headed into a tough budget cycle where we know those back-end services will likely be impacted. The mayor mentioned in the context of the Neely case that about 4,000 people have been removed from the subway. That's where the statement ended. He didn't say found services. He didn't say ended up back on the subway. It doesn't seem like there's really good tracking and identification of what's needed here, and that's the ultimate solution. You can yank anyone off the subway. What happens next?
Is there a clear definite? Has the mayor been pressed on this issue?
He's been pressed multiple times. We've been looking for those answers. We haven't gotten them yet, and that's sort of been a little bit of frustration, I think, for us as reporters, just looking for that clarity from the mayor's office.
Yeah, and I think, talking to some city council members myself, I think that that's going to be a big sticking point now when they go into these budget negotiations. Once again, bringing mental health services back up to the forefront. It's going to be a big, big talker.
It's hard not to pull the oxygen out of the room. We were talking about libraries 1 week ago. I think mental health, subway safety is now right at the front of the line.
Yeah. All right, Ayana, Henry, I know both of you will continue to press the mayor on those topics. Thank you both for being here for the PIX panel, everybody. And still to come, we're going to take a look at the week ahead. We'll be right back.